I just want to say I'm actually a fan of Trump, and I think there's a lot of stuff in the media which are lies.
Go on.
I know yourself. You're obviously anti-Trump.
No, go on. What are the lies that you're unhappy about?
Well, no, I just think you even said this morning. You said it's okay for him. What is it? The quote you used? It's okay to be racist again.
Yeah.
When? Okay. So how do you draw that conclusion?
He accused Barack Obama of not having been born in America and lying about his birth certificate.
So how's that racist?
Birtherism is racist because Barack Obama is well, you can't. I mean, you can talk over me if you want, Stephen. But okay, no, you crack on. There have been previous
presidents that have actually been white that have also not been accused of being born in America. So was that also racist?
No, of course it wouldn't be racist. Who was that, by the way?
I think a president from 1880. It goes back over
No, come on. You're on national radio. You've got your ducks in a row. Tell me about the last time an American president was accused of not being born in America.
I've forgotten the names. But
don't be silly. Don't tease me. Of course you haven't forgotten the name. You wouldn't come on the radio and say something and then immediately fall apart in response to the first question you're asked.
It's not falling apart.
Okay, so let's go back to the lies that have been told about Donald Trump. Which one would you reach for first?
Well, the one that you just said, it's okay for the racist to come out.
Well, we've just demonstrated he's very popular with racists, Stephen. I think we can all agree on that.
Well, he's not popular with racists.
So it wasn't white nationalists that invaded the Capitol last week, then. Steve Bannon, his key advisor during the presidential campaign, who's now been pardoned for ripping off Trump supporters, he didn't say you should wear the accusation of racism like a badge of honour.
Well, that's his quote. I mean, if that's what he's saying. But that you can't just say then that everyone that marched on the Capitol is racist.
I didn't. I said they were white nationalists.
Well, you're also portraying that.
So let's go back to the lies, Stephen. Let's go back to the lies that the mainstream media in America has told about Donald Trump.
Well, I've just told you the fact that he's racist.
But we've just proved that he is.
But because he's questioned someone's birth certificate, that makes him racist.
No, because he questioned a black man's birth certificate, knowing that it was absolutely untrue. So that would be called a racist lie, which is encouraged to make people who are uncomfortable with Barack Obama's skin colour believe something that's not true about him, because it then undermines the legitimacy of his presidency. So briefly, because it's not going great, but I'd like you to stick around for a little bit longer. What is it you liked about him, Stephen?
I think that he come out and spoke a lot of the truth on stuff.
Yeah, what stuff? Stephen's hung up. Get Brexit done was a blindfold. It was earmuffs. It was an invitation to ignore the evidence of your eyes and ears. But when Brexit got done, you take the blindfold off. You take the earmuffs off. And it takes you a little while to reacclimatise, I think. It takes you a while. You sort of give your earlobes a bit of a tug and give it. What do you do when you rub your eyes a bit and you haven't quite noticed this and you haven't quite noticed that? And then along comes Andrea Leadsom and Owen Paterson, like a sort of Jack and Jill of political incompetence, one of whom has behaved in an appalling fashion and refused to admit it or acknowledge it, and one of whom is prepared to introduce an amendment to the House of Commons designed not only to let him off the hook, but also to rip up the entire rule book put in place to combat corruption. And they've fallen under the spell of the Get Brexit Done slogan as well, because they prorogued Parliament. They defended Dominic Cummings when he drove to Barnard Castle and back. So whether consciously or subconsciously, they think they can get away with murder, metaphorically speaking. That's happened to them as well. So it's not just the voters who had these blindfolds and these earmuffs on. These politicians, particularly the less intelligent ones, have also ended up in a place, whether consciously or unconsciously, where they believe they can do anything. Johnson's been like that all his life. His sense of entitlement comes from, I don't know, his DNA or his background, his education or his personality, I know not. But for the rest of them, this is an assumed sense of entitlement. Some of us are born entitled. Some of us achieve entitlement, and some of us have entitlement thrust upon us. I think this lot, in a sense, have had entitlement thrust upon them by the Get Brexit Done slogan, under which they could do anything. They could lie to the Queen under the Get Brexit Done slogan. So the idea that they could rip up the anti-corruption rulebook, it's seen through this lens, becomes relatively innocuous. I don't think they actually slap each other on the back in the Garrick Club and say, well, what are we going to do next, lads? We lied to the Queen last year. Let's rip up the anti-corruption rule book this year. I think it's just a sort of almost an osmosis of corruption passing from the top down, actually. A sort of trickle down of moral corruption, culminating in the idea that 250 MPs could march through the lobby marked, we'll be marking our own homework in the future, thank you very much, and the rest of you can sod off. They march through that particular lobby and think they're going to get away with it. Why? Because we got away with everything else. Question, why did you get away with everything else? Answer, because it all got filed under Get Brexit Done. But Brexit got done. And you're not ready yet, perhaps, to recognise or acknowledge that it bears no resemblance whatsoever to what these shysters and charlatans promised you. That day will come. That day edges ever closer. Reality can only ever be postponed. It can never be permanently denied. But you are ready to say, Owen Paterson taking £500,000 off a couple of companies that he then lobbied government for, that didn't get Brexit done. That's got nothing to do with Brexit. And suddenly, like the sun coming over the horizon after a dark and dismal night, you understand why people like Charles Moore, disgracefully, and why people like David Davis disingenuously tried to bring Brexit back into it. There it is. We got there in the end, an hour and a quarter into the programme. Why were they bringing Brexit back into it? Because Brexit was the blindfold. Brexit was the earmuffs. Brexit was the thing that you could say and then the public would go, all right, carry on. Or the supporters would give you the free pass. You drove to Barnard Castle to test your eyesight. Of course you did. Of course you flipping didn't. Brexit! Oh, no, you did. You did, actually. You sent Jacob Rees-Mogg to Balmoral to mislead Her Majesty the Queen. That's absolutely a Brexit. Oh, no, that's absolutely fine. As you were, good old Jacob, doff cap, tug forelock. You prorogued our parliament. That is the most constitutionally corrupt thing that any government has done in living. Brexit! Oh, no, that's absolutely fine. You carry on. You carry on. You publish newspaper front pages encouraging the British public to hate judges. That's so dangerous. That's the stuff of dictatorships and Brexit. Oh, no, that's fine. Carry on. Let's have another front page. But Brexit got done, you see. So did everyone who voted for it. But as I say, that day hasn't quite dawned yet. And that's why the Owen Paterson scandal has landed in the way that it's landed. And because the Daily Mail is a pivotal piece of this jigsaw, the fact that it's now edited by somebody who was bright enough to realise that Brexit was a very bad idea is perhaps part of the process. Because the Telegraph haven't turned, the Telegraph can't turn. They're so far down the rabbit hole that they will never be able to get out again. They can't turn round. But the Mail has changed its tack. The Mail has changed its tune. Because they understand what's happened. You can't file any of this under Get Brexit Done. Why did Owen Paterson take £500,000 off a couple of companies that he was lobbying for? Brexit! Pardon? Kwasi Kwarteng, yesterday, asked whether Boris Johnson had ever done anything in his entire career that could be seen as upholding standards in public life. I swear to you this is true. You're going to think I've made it up. Has he done anything in his entire career, on the beep, that could be described as upholding standards in public life? Do you know what Kwasi Kwarteng said? I swear to you this is true. I should have worked this out yesterday. I'm so sorry. Do you know what he said? He got Brexit done. And that is the sound of a blindfold falling apart in real time. Kwasi Kwarteng, Secretary of State for Business, put in the Cabinet by Boris Johnson. Has the Prime Minister done anything in his entire life that could be described in any way whatsoever as upholding or promoting standards in public life? Kwasi Kwarteng's answer? You can hear his soul slipping down the plug hole as he says it. Well, he got Brexit done. And that is why we are exactly where we are.
James, we've spoken before. My daughter Susan died on the 28th of March last year.
I remember.
And since then, I have struggled to understand the lunacy, the complete lunacy. I've bought the book, Failures of State, the COVID-19 catastrophe. I've tried to find out how in the hell could we get in this such a mess. And Dominic Cummings, he's not my favourite person by any stretch of the imagination, but he done me a favour yesterday.
Do you feel that?
He put a lot of he ticked a lot of boxes. He made some sense of the nonsense, if you can understand what I'm saying. Because
I don't just understand it, John. I feel every word of it.
Never look for logic where logic doesn't exist. And I've been looking all these months, this 15, 16 months, crying every day. My wife crying every day because of the loss of our daughter, trying to understand why is my daughter dead. And now I know, and I've always believed. I mean, at the end of the day, the definition of herding immunity is a matter of semantics. Yeah. At the end of the day, what you can't do is you can't put your finger back in the dike 1 second, 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day after you've taken the bloody thing out. And at the end of the day, that's what Johnson did, because Johnson didn't take the pandemic seriously. He refused to take it seriously. He refused to arrive at COBRA meetings. He went on a fortnight's holiday. And for me, Cummings did me a favour yesterday. He did me a big favour, because what he's done is given me the peace of mind of knowing my many, many hours and many, many months of deliberation as to why my daughter, and I'm looking at her bush now, sitting in my garden. Why is she dead? And I know that she is gone mainly because of the incompetence of Johnson and his refusal to accept the serious nature of this pandemic. And I will never, ever forgive him, ever in my life, or any member of this catastocracy. I will never forgive them.
And oh, mate, you felt yesterday for the first time. I completely understand why you're at pains to stress the low regard in which you hold Dominic Cummings, but you felt, and Susan's mum felt yesterday for the first time, that you perhaps had come to understand how it happened.
Yeah, as far as I was concerned, he was telling the truth as he understood it, and his truth, just by coincidence, happens to be my truth, because I firmly believed from the word go that Johnson never took it seriously. Let's be honest, he bragged about shaking hands with he went on morning television on ITV talking about herding immunity. Let's get it right. At the end of, the whole thing, the man is a complete menace. The man is a menace, and he doesn't care. And you have to remember as well, when in his mentality and in the Conservative Party mentality, my daughter Susan had Down syndrome. She was disabled.
I remember.
And before the pandemic came, there were 130 Oxford academics, investigated 130,000 premature deaths of mainly disabled people that were a result of Tory Conservative Party policies. So at the end of the day, the pandemic is, many of them are probably saying, well, we killed 130,000 before, what's another 130,000 matter? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I just despair of the people of this country that they watched all these thousands of people die and they don't care. And they just don't care.
You know me, mate. I can start an argument in an empty room, but I'm not going to.
I know you can.
I'm not going to argue with you about that.
I know you can, James.
I'd like to comfort you. People just need help understanding why they should care. They do care. They can't hear you now. Even the most boneheaded, cap-doffing, forelock-tugging sycophant cannot hear you now and not be moved. It's just a question of why so much effort is put into defending these people.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, at the end of the day, the worst thing has been dealing with. I mean, I know I listen to you all the time. I mean, but I don't get on the phone because my cancer triggers off if I get stressed.
I know.
And,
Okay.
and the thing about it is, I sat and watched that Hancock, and I know he's lying. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm nearly 79 years of age. I've been around a little bit, and I think we know a liar when we see a liar. And at the end of the day, as far as I'm concerned, when he turns around and says he threw his arms around the shield around the nursing homes, and he did this and he did, and he argued that I'll never forget the day that the nurse was crying her eyes out, saying that we were even told we've got to share a mask in a hospital. And that same day, Hancock was on the television telling us that there was no shortage of PPE in the hospitals. He was more or less calling that nurse a liar. So, you know what I mean? I'm not going to take no more of your time, and I'm grateful for
John,
your
you
time.
can have, I'm worried about your stress levels now.
No. I'll calm down on him. You know, at the end of the day,
can I say one thing just to you, and very briefly, because it's the least important bit of our exchange, but I just want to say sorry to you for the times that you've tuned into this programme and heard me defending or sticking up for Matt Hancock. I'm really, really sorry for that.
No, mate, no. We've all got a right to an opinion, and we learn, don't we? And at the end of the day, it's the same as everything.
Of course
I mean, all right, Cummings has told lies, but he's also told truth.
Yes.
So you can't condemn everything Cummings says as a lie, and that's exactly what the Sun,
point, isn't it?
It's
not all or nothing, a binary, a zero-sum game. You're 100% one way or 100% the other.
Exactly.
That's just not
at
human.
the end of the day. And I think the one thing that came out of yesterday, more importantly than anything else, is that the absolute need for an inquiry now.
Yeah.
Not in a year's time, an inquiry now, because at the end of the day, one thing we all know in our hearts, that the lunatics are running the asylum at the moment. And the fact of the matter is we could have another bloody pandemic at the end of this month. Do you know what I mean? We can't afford to wait a year. Do you know what I mean? If we had somebody with half a brain running the country, do you know what I mean? I never call him Prime Minister because I think it's an insult to the name. But that's what we need. We need an inquiry now. Us families, us loved ones, all of us families.
It's the very, very least you deserve, isn't it?
Yeah,
actually,
exactly that.
Because you're reduced to a vengeful, vendetta-driven former senior advisor giving vitriolic testimony to a select committee to get answers to the most profound and the most powerful questions of your life, and you're reduced to tuning into a pantomime like that rather than having a full and frank independent inquiry.
Every minute of that, I rewound. Nearly 9 hours I was listening to that.
Lord.
Keep rewinding it. Listen to what he said again. You know what I mean? Because I wanted to be sure what he said. I wanted to understand what he said because it's so important to me. I mean, 9 hours is nothing. I mean, I have desperately needed the answers, and for me, he gave me the answers yesterday. And the simple answer is by Johnson's actions, by his refusal to accept the seriousness of the pandemic, he took his finger out of that dike, and there's no bloody way he could put it back. And it's as simple as easy as that.
I hear you.
Do you know what I mean? And you vaccinate, using the word vaccination does not wipe away all those 150,000 people that are dead. You know what I mean? And that's what they're trying to do. Just every time they open their mouth, it's vaccination.
Yeah, you're right.
Never about death. Thank you for your time.
Before you go.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm going to struggle to say this. I bet you were a brilliant dad.
Oh, God. Do you know, Saint? She was 56 years old. She was a bundle of fun. I called her Little Chief, and she called me Big Chief. And everybody knew her as Susie Wong. She was just the loveliest person in the world, and she didn't deserve. None of these people deserved it. None of these people deserved, a time of crisis when we desperately needed a really serious politician in charge of Downing Street. We sadly finished up with a charlatan and a narcissist and a liar. And that's why my daughter is dead, and that's why all these... I feel for all of these families, every single family. My heart goes out to them. And when I see it every day, and people turn around and say, oh, there's only 9 dead today, or it's only... That's somebody's loved one. Yeah. It's not only 2, it's not only 9, it's not only 1. It's somebody's loved one that's died. And people are in pain. And people should remember that. And they should remember that the next time they go to put their cross in a box, in a boat, in a polling station. Because this man isn't fit to run the country. End of story. I'm going to go. God bless and be well.
God, you look after yourself, mate, John.
Yeah, God bless.
We'll talk again. God bless you, and love to Susie's mum as well. People who told you that all of the predictions of what was happening now were wrong were actually right, but the people who said they were wrong are now claiming that this is what they knew was going to happen all along. And that's why blaming business is both pathetic and brilliant at exactly the same time. Because think about this for a minute. Let's recall briefly Project Fear. Okay? Project Fear described labour shortages, possible threats to the supply chain of food. It described the possibility of empty shelves in supermarkets. It suggested under Operation Yellowhammer, which was the government's own research into it, they looked at the possibility of fuel supply being compromised and big problems with things like farming, agriculture, slaughtering, veterinarian, butchery, all of the things that are now actually happening. This is incredible. And I honestly, I'm in such a lovely place at the moment in my own head and heart that I've got no beef with you if you're still committed to the idea that somehow it's all going swimmingly or that this was actually what you expected to happen. The point was, everybody who warned that this was going to happen was shouted down by the people who are now in power. I'll say that again because it's really important. Everybody who explained and predicted, from the governor of the Bank of England right through to the head of most FTSE 100 companies and every prime minister this country has ever had, everybody who explained and predicted what is happening now was shouted down by the people now in power. So what do the people now in power do when the stuff they said was never going to happen starts happening? Well, this is where I really hope you can take me by the hand and lead me to a slightly less bleak analysis. They will claim the polar opposite. They will move effortlessly. They will move seamlessly. They will move shamelessly from insisting, quite robustly, occasionally even, dare I say, rudely, from insisting that all of these predictions were ridiculous. All of these Project Fear explanations were scaremongering nonsense. All of these people were miserable Ramonas. And now, almost before your very eyes, they're saying, no, that they were right all along. But this was always part of our plan. Take a moment to let that sink in. That's what they're doing to you now. These people, led by Boris Johnson, Jacob Rees-Mogg and the rest of them. Getting away with it? Not properly held to account for it, barely even questioned about it. They are going from claiming it was all a load of scaremongering Ramona Project Fear nonsense to claiming that everybody knew that this was going to happen. The people that we derided and dismissed and denied, of course they were right all along. Everybody knew that this was going to happen, and that was the plan. And if businesses aren't ready for it, if businesses aren't ready to deal with all the things that we told businesses were not going to happen, then that is the fault of businesses. They should have known we were wrong. That's the message from government. Right now, today, 10:15, in front of you, the message from government to British businesses facing unprecedented and entirely unnecessary problems caused entirely by the project that propelled Boris Johnson into Downing Street. The message that Downing Street is giving those businesses is, it's your fault for not being ready to deal with all the things that we told you wouldn't happen. Walter is in Warrington. Walter, what would you like to say?
Oh, hey, James. Good to speak to you today.
Likewise.
So I'm as you probably spoke with your research, I'm a pastor of a church in Warrington. So we've all heard the stories of the gay conversion therapy of...
Damien hadn't, but I take your point.
Yeah, I think most people, I presume it anyway, normally. But you hear the stories of electric shock therapy, even I read stories of even fathers attacking their daughters who came out as gay. And you hear all these sorts of stories. And obviously, I don't agree with that. I don't think that's right. I think that sort of thing is just abhorrent and just completely wrong. As I suppose, well, you say most people. But if a consenting adult, I know that's the term that's been used, I know the conversation is more towards, originally the question was about the legal side of things.
Yes.
If a consenting adult came to me as a pastor and explained that he or she had same-sex desires or feelings, whatever word or way you want to say it or whatever.
Yes.
And I can't see that how me praying for them to help them overcome that, or again, however you want to word that, is the same as doing the other sort of things that was mentioned.
Okay.
Then sort of out, like you say, your question.
Well, you're beginning on the premise that homosexuality is akin to an illness, which is part of
No, definitely not akin to an illness.
How hard would I have to pray to make you gay?
No, I understand
I'm going to insist that you answer that question. How hard would I have to pray to make you gay?
I don't believe it's about how hard anyone has to pray for anything.
Well, all right. How often would I have to pray?
How
likely is it that I could pray you gay?
From my honest point of view, from my honest belief, I don't believe it's possible.
So how can you pray someone straight?
Because this is how if I'll answer that. So this is how I would view it again from my point of view. From my
just so you know, if I'm not satisfied with your answer, I will just ask you that same question again when you finish talking. Just no so problem. You know.
So,
all right. So the question is, how can you pray someone gay if you can't pray someone straight?
So I believe that just as I would pray for somebody who is in a not same-sex desire, but in you call a straight relationship. So somebody that has those desires towards that person of the opposite sex, that I would pray, we would pray together if they came to me and said that they're having these feelings and they don't want them because they want to save themselves to a marriage or etc.
Yeah.
It's the same as saying, for me, it's the same as saying that about somebody that says they're gay. So it's not that being gay is worse or being gay is the worst thing that anybody could do or the worst act that anybody could do.
No, because they'd still be gay.
Yeah, of course they'd still be
so
gay.
So you're just going to try and get them to not have a sex life? No,
definitely not. I wouldn't try and get them not to have a sex
then?
life.
So what are you praying? What are you praying for then? With the gay person?
Yes, if they have come to me, so it's not something, for a start, it's not something I would go to them and say, you're wrong, I need to pray about this, let me pray for you.
Yeah.
If they've come to me...
But neither are you going to say when they come to you, say, well, don't be silly, there's nothing to pray for, just go, I hope you find someone to love. You're not. You're going to say, I'm going to help you fight your natural feelings.
No, I wouldn't say that. No, definitely not. I'm honest.
But that's what you'd be doing. That's what you'd be doing.
I'm an honest person on that one. And I wouldn't say to them, do as you wish. If they've come to me and they've asked me...
So in other words, if they've been inculcated into homophobic thinking or they're victims of a culture that preaches against homosexuality and they come to you because they don't want to be homosexual or they don't want to do homosexual acts or have homosexual feelings, you're like, you're basically the drug dealer, aren't you?
And like I said, when I started originally, it's not about so much just about...
Yeah, but I'm going to do that thing I told you I was going to do. If you can't pray yourself, if I can't pray you gay, how can you pray someone else straight?
No, it's not about me praying. It's about they've come and asked. So if they want that,
but then you as a good citizen, never mind as a man of God, you should be telling them that they've got nothing to be ashamed of, and that their feelings are natural and beautiful and God's will.
But again, obviously, it depends on the stance on the scriptures, doesn't it?
No, it doesn't.
On the scriptures of the.
Are we going to do this? You want to go there?
Want to?
Do you want to go? Okay. What did Jesus say about sexuality?
Jesus didn't, but if you believe all Scripture is God breathed,
no, I want to know what Jesus said.
Just as much.
I want to know what Jesus said.
Gay or straight, he never said any.
Didn't say a word about it, did he?
He actually did say one thing.
No, he didn't.
He did, if I can say it. If you let me.
Well, yeah, go on.
He said, "This is why a man must leave his house, his family, and be united to his wife, and that's the way that God created them."
No, he
that's
didn't.
What Jesus said.
No,
he did.
didn't.
So he's talking about marriage in the book of Matthew.
Yeah, all right. So what did he say about sexuality?
I was just saying that a man and a woman.
What did he say about homosexuality?
Homosexuality? No, he never said a word about homosexuality.
Not a sausage. So when someone comes to you and tells you that they're gay, tell them they've got nothing to be ashamed of, and it's God's will, and that if there was anything wrong with it, God wouldn't have made us like this.
But like I say, if they've come to you and said that they want you to pray about that...
No. You've created a culture in which they don't want to be gay. You preach that there's something wrong with it, and then you think you get a free pass on being a good guy when they come to you and ask for help in resisting their natural urges.
Yeah, because if you believe in the entirety of the Bible, the entire Bible.
Oh, okay. You believe in the entirety of the Bible?
Yeah.
Okay. What are you wearing? What are you wearing at the moment?
A woolen jumper and a pair of jeans.
What are the jeans made of?
Probably cotton, I think.
So you're wearing wool and cotton at the same time, which Leviticus calls an abomination.
But that's cultural law, not that's ceremonial law. Cultural law.
Oh, okay, right. Where do you stand on shellfish?
Again, it's cultural law.
Oh, I see. So those laws are not. You don't abide by the full content of the scriptures when you're doing it, but when it's stuff you don't want to do, then it's really important.
No, because that's not what I'm saying at all.
It totally is.
No, it's not, because different things apply in different ways.
Okay, right. Yeah.
Prophet's wisdom, knowledge, sort of thing. Everything applies in different ways.
Do you even believe this, or do you just need to pay the bills?
No, I don't get paid for being a pastor.
Good grief! So you do this for fun or power?
No, definitely
power,
not.
standing
Definitely
in the community, right?
Sort of things you have
that's
to
what
go
you.
through.
That's what you get out of it. It's vanity.
But
that's being fed.
My original point wasn't about any of that anyway.
Your original point was that if someone comes to you and asks for help in not being gay, you're going to pray with them and punt the lie that something might come good at the end of it. And the idea that you can pray.
It was about the law.
Ah, Walter, mate,
it was about the law.
You're a disgrace.
And the law can't.
You're a disgrace.
Prayer, certain prayers wrong and certain prayers right.
You know it as well. I can hear it in your voice. I can hear the desperation in your voice.
If it calls certain prayers wrong and certain prayers right, when does it stop?
Do you know what I'm going to do, Walter? I'm going to pray for you, but my God, I'm going to pray for the people you corrupt as well.
I thought our Prime Minister, our government, was going to take back, we were promised that they would take back full control of our waters and the resource. If they had done that, James, we would be in a very different position.
But I explained to you in 2018 why that was impossible.
James, please let me just finish.
Well, okay, but you're not making any sense, June.
Oh, no, because you won't let me get this across.
All right, so if only we just believed more.
Yeah, well, what do you want to talk about? The fact that what we should have been, if we had taken back control, what part of this conversation can I get over? If we'd have taken back full control of our resource and the fish, we would be in a completely different position.
And who would we be selling it to?
Well, the biggest problem we have in our country, James, is that we should be selling it to our in our supermarkets instead of all the farmed fish that they sell. You know, bass from Vietnam. You know, prawns from dikes in Thailand.
Yes.
You know, that's something the government had.
And was Brexit ever going to make any of that better?
I mean, Norway sell their fish to 149 different countries. James, selling fish is not a problem.
Where will we sell ours?
The problem is, pardon?
Where will we sell ours?
We'll sell it to France. We'll sell it to Holland. They'll need it. They've got big...
You know what the problem is there. No, June,
Please,
I will let you finish, but you can't sell it if you're not allowed to catch it.
Well, we're talking about the deal. I'm going back to what should have happened, what we were promised. This is a big deal. You know, at the moment, Boris has lied about wallpapers and different things, but he lied to us.
June, you made the promises to the British people.
No, I didn't make...
Yes, you did. You stood for office in Nigel's party.
What did we promise?
You promised that we'd take back control. People said that's impossible. You said no, it isn't, and here we are.
Well, it isn't. It was not impossible.
It was.
But our government are weak and spineless and did not take back full control. If we'd have taken back and had the fish, we'd have sold it to France and Holland. They've got
can't do that without a trade agreement.
So they've got huge factories, James, and employees to pay. Where would they got the fish from? Us. It's standard business sense, James. Don't try and make it look... Don't try and twist it.
I'm not twisting anything. We can't sell fish that we're not allowed to catch.
We're not allowed to catch... Well, listen, what I'm trying to say is we're quite happy as a coastal... as an island of catching our own fish in our waters and selling it.
Yes,
we're happy in our waters.
But I explained to you 3 years ago that the massive majority of the fish that we sold, we were catching in other waters because we don't like to eat the oily fish.
The reason we weren't catching it in our waters is because we weren't allowed to catch our fish.
And now we're not even allowed to fish in the waters that we were allowed to fish in before, which is the whole point of today's story from Hull, isn't it, June? The UK fisheries are lobbying. They're lobbying the government that don't shout.
We wanted rid of that.
Please don't shout.
The Tia Keller.
Please don't shout.
I've got an earset in.
The government are being lobbied.
The Tia Keller is a flagship. It's a Dutch vessel. It's British registered and owned by the UK, James.
Yes.
Please.
Which means that it
This
is
is about-
subject to UK rather than EU legislation. Let me just hear you making a little promise before the election. Let's just go back in time again, June, if you'll allow.
We are taking back full control of our waters and the resource. It's as simple as that.
See, that's a promise. Who broke it?
Our government broke it,
But
James.
you made it.
What do you mean I made a promise?
Well, I'll remind you
I'm
again.
not-
Have another
We are
listen.
taking back full control of our waters and the resource. It's as simple as that.
We wanted to do. And
What do you
that
say
is
to
what
people who voted
I
for
had
you?
meetings-
What do you say to people who voted for you? Are you going to say sorry?
Sorry, why I didn't do the deal.
Hang on, this is the promise you made.
We are taking back full control of our waters and the resource. It's as simple as that.
Wasn't simple, was it?
Simple.
Didn't happen,
Our
did it?
government made it difficult. It's the most simplest thing that you could do. I sat in an office in Lowestoft with Boris, and he promised me we would take back full control of our waters. That is what he told me.
And I
the
told you
resource.
that was
He
impossible
lied
in March of
to the
2018. I told you that was impossible in March of 2018,
Well, no, you
and you
don't,
got
James,
and you got
listen,
cross
you're-
you got
this
cross
is
about the
about
facts and
Brexit with
figures,
you.
didn't you? So anyway, before you
Brexit
go,
is
I don't want to
one
keep you
thing.
from your meeting. On a scale of 1 to 10, how well is Brexit going for the fishing industry?
Fishing industry dreadful.
A scale of 1 to 10.
I don't know, really, James. I mean, I'm still working on it daily, but really,
No, I know,
I mean,
but at the moment, scale of 1 to 10.
8. Badly.
So,
Bad. It's bad for us at the moment.
with
And we
10,
need
with
people
10,
like you
with 10,
to-
10 as the worst it could possibly be. It's currently an 8. You know, I have to put £10 in a tin for charity every time I say "I told you so" in the context of Brexit, June.
Well, yeah, but that's not quite right, is it? You've twisted
Keith,
that.
get the tin. June Mummery, I told you so. What do they actually stand for? I think we might have come fairly close to an explanation. Now, do you remember when the government voted to remove the £20 extra that the poorest people in the country were in receipt of? That was £20 on top of universal credit. And a fairly obvious objection to that was based on two things. Number one was that a significant proportion of people on universal credit were in work, so the old-fashioned line about lazy, feckless layabouts, although deeply dishonest, didn't even work here because people in full-time work were going to lose 20 quid a week. The poorest people in the country, I'm just going to keep saying that. In fact, I'm going to say it 3 times. They voted to take away £20 a week from the poorest people in the country. The poorest people in the country were told by this government to survive on £20 less, even less than they had already. The Conservative government instructed its MPs to vote to remove £20 a week from the poorest people in the country. And here is the MP for Romford explaining why.
I think that this is a balance. It has to be judged very carefully. I think there are people that quite like getting the extra £20, but maybe they don't need it.
Okay, you got that, yeah? So the poorest people in the country, I'm going to say that again, the poorest people in the country maybe don't need £20 a week more. Now, Andy has also been waxing lyrical upon the question of how MPs can possibly be expected to survive on a mere 80-odd grand a year, because the slightly fudged attempt to limit the second jobs that can be done passed in Parliament yesterday. I don't think it's got many teeth, for the record, the legislation as it stands, but the journey is not over yet. January is Judgment Day. But Andrew Rosindell, the MP for Romford, who thinks that taking £20 a week off the poorest people in the country was a great idea because they didn't really need it, has also been waxing lyrical on the issue of preventing MPs from trousering epic sums of money from private sector companies for services rendered.
I'm very cautious on this because I know that some of my colleagues have jobs and outside work that they do, and that means them having to give up changing their lifestyle. We have to be careful about this. We have to realise that we're dealing with human beings who have families and responsibilities.
Right, I'm going to play you the first clip again. This is Andrew Rosindell, the MP for Romford, talking about the withdrawal of £20 a week from the pockets and the purses of the poorest people in this country.
I think that this is a balance. It has to be judged very carefully. I think there are people that quite like getting the extra £20, but maybe they don't need it.
And this is the same MP talking about people in the same country who operate under the same currency, but who currently are free to, in the case of Geoffrey Cox, earn about £1 million a year doing work on the side, or in the case of Ian Duncan Smith, to take 25 grand a year from a hand sanitizer company, or in the case of Owen Paterson, 100 grand a year from Rand. I could go on. But this is the same man who thinks the poorest people in the country don't need £20 a week, talking about why his colleagues in the House of Commons, on in excess of £80,000 a year, are, well, human beings.
I'm very cautious on this because I know that some of my colleagues have jobs and outside work that they do, and that means them having to give up changing their lifestyle. We have to be careful about this. We have to realise that we're dealing with human beings who have families and responsibilities.
Oh, once more then. Go on. Because what we're dealing with in the second case is human beings who have families and responsibilities, all right? That's Conservative MPs earning epic sums of money for unspecified service to private sector companies. But human beings who have families and responsibilities and are among the poorest people in the country, this is what he thinks of them.
I think that this is a balance. It has to be judged very carefully. I think there are people that quite like getting the extra £20, but maybe they don't need it.
And now you know precisely who Andrew Rosindell, the MP for Romford, cares about, represents and worries about at night. He currently has a majority of 17,893. So if you don't like the cut of his jib or the idea that you should care about human beings who are Conservative MPs, but the poorest people in the country can easily absorb a £20 cut in their income, then you can demonstrate your unhappiness at the next election. Then I'll begin. So at 11 after 10, I'm fascinated by that. We may get onto that a little bit later. But I'm going to frame it like this. The psychology that sees people feel more threatened by being told to wear a mask than they are by the virus that's killed about 150,000 people in this country alone. I'm fascinated by that. If I'm describing you, then you probably already feel unfairly treated by that description. But that's not my problem. That's your problem. It's just true. It's killed 150,000 people, and yet you're more threatened by an order to wear a mask than you are by the threat posed by the virus. And of course, the maddest element about this, again, unless I'm missing something huge, in which case 0345 6060973, is that they often have quite odd views about the vaccines as well. And that doesn't make sense, because if you really, really, really don't want to get vaccinated, and let's pretend for the moment that you've got a sound scientific reason for that position, rather than just a subscription to your Uncle Keith's Facebook page. If you really, really, really don't want to get vaccinated, then the mask should be welded to your face. Oh, masks don't work. Right. Well, yeah, okay, that would be the position, wouldn't it? Then what's the worst that can happen is the thing we reach for subsequently at this point. What is the worst that can happen? If we sit down 5 years from now and the science has judged that actually, in retro, it's done the opposite. The science has become bigger and bigger and bigger in support of the efficacy of wearing face masks. But let's pretend it didn't. Let's pretend that 5 years from now it was conclusively proved that wearing a face mask made no difference whatsoever to the transmission of coronavirus. And I don't know what I would be supposed to be feeling. Would I be sitting there going, oh my God, I wasted all those train journeys wearing a mask when I didn't need to? I can't quite imagine any circumstances in which I would feel cheated or betrayed or robbed. Oh my God, I sat in Phantom of the Opera with a mask on and my glasses kept steaming up. I could have seen Phantom of the Opera through slightly less steamy lenses. If only I'd known back then that I didn't have to wear a face. Do you see what I mean? So these are the baffling elements to me. The notion that you're more threatened by a mask than you are by a virus. The idea that even if it turned out they weren't helpful, you haven't lost much or sacrificed much or given up much. It's just so whiny. I'm sorry. It's just so whiny. It's like a kindergarten full of recalcitrant toddlers who don't want to eat their broccoli or something. I don't get it. Hopefully by 11 o'clock today, I will get it. 0345 6060973. And then finally, and somewhat unsurprisingly, and quite possibly foolishly, I do wonder whether they've got it right this time. They've moved further and faster, I think, than they have at the point of any other escalation. Don't you? It's still early. It might well turn out in a couple of weeks, when the dust settles, that Omicron is not as big a worry as it might be. The message coming from some medics in South Africa is, and it's early doors, and it is not yet, of course, definitive, because you need a couple more weeks to assess and collate the data. But although transmissibility may be higher, the symptoms are not. So there's every prospect that long before Christmas they'll have ramped down the alarm levels. But better safe than sorry was something that we wanted them to do for all of last year and most of this year, and they didn't. I'm going to cautiously suggest to you, and I am more than ready to take my medicine should I need to, that this response is the best so far to a, quote, new threat. Whether you're going back to the old new threat, or the new threat, or the new threat, which they nearly called it, but then realised that pronouncing that Greek letter new, or ni, some Monty Python reference there for older listeners, would be unhelpful. So therefore it is Omicron. And if you need a good joke today, probably the best joke I've seen with regard to all of this is, this is not how I wanted to learn the Greek alphabet, lads. This is not how I wanted to learn the Greek alphabet. Special prize to anyone who knows what comes after Omicron? P. 10:15 is the time. The number you need is 0345 60 60 973. Brings us to the Prime Minister and the report by two select committees into his handling of the coronavirus pandemic in the earliest days. I think both of these select committees, and again, I probably should have double-checked before coming on air, I think they're both headed up by former Conservative members of Cabinet. I know Jeremy Hunt heads up the Health Select Committee. Let me double-check on that. But what I mean is that they are by no means biased. You know, you almost find yourself thinking this report is pretty damning, despite the fact that it is headed up by people who either have been or hope to be in Boris Johnson's cabinet, or at least in a Conservative cabinet at some point. It runs to 151 pages. And yes, having double-checked, I can confirm it was led by two former Conservative ministers, and it has been filed under the title Coronavirus Lessons Learned to Date. One of the earliest things to mention is that the lesson that you probably shouldn't let it run through the population in the hope of building up some semblance of herd immunity doesn't appear to have been learned, because they are currently doing that in our schools. But that is not contained within the report. 10:13 is the time. What is contained within the report is an accusation of groupthink, evidence of British exceptionalism. In many ways, if you were listening to this programme last March, you don't need to read the report. All of the stuff that we reported as fact and evidence-based criticism has now been confirmed by a report conducted by two former Conservative ministers. So what the hell has this got to do with the three things that could see me broadcasting my final programme on LBC? Well, honestly, I don't see how we have managed to create a country in which the people in charge can stand accused of such epic and fatal failure by their own colleagues and fellow party members. That seems pertinent to me. While the rest of us sit here absolutely certain that not a single head will roll. I find that actually inconceivable for fans of The Princess Bride. I really do. And it's another one of those mornings where you are the boiled frog, isn't it? It's another one of those mornings where you sort of, because it's a culmination, it's an acceleration, it's all happened incrementally. You arrive on Tuesday, the 12th of October 2021. You know that we have one of the highest overall death rates in the world. You know that we still have, according to some measures, the highest number of new cases today. Don't talk about that anymore. But forget about the road ahead. Forget about the road beneath our feet at this moment in time. Look in the rearview mirror at the road behind. Look me in the eye and tell me you expect anybody to face punishment, never mind consequence, for an epic and fatal failure of public health on a scale that has never been seen before. Has arguably never been seen before in any civilised or comparably wealthy country. And I don't get it. I still don't get it. It's the Fifth Avenue thing. I really hope it isn't. But you remember when Donald Trump said that such is the nature of his cult, such as the unthinking sycophancy of his support, that he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and not lose a single vote. I don't know how else to make sense of the fact that we've created a country in which a government can preside over what is described by their own colleagues as one of the, and again I would dispute the use of the phrase one of the worst public health failures in UK history, with ministers and scientists taking a fatalistic approach that, and I don't like this language either, exacerbated the death toll. If you don't mind, I'll run with killed people. Political decisions that left people dead. Family members of people we were speaking to at the time and will continue to speak to for a while to come. And because your scarf, your Boris Johnson or your Conservative or your Brexit scarf is now tied so tightly round your neck, you cannot take it off. And you have to sit there and either look the other way, make ludicrous noises about how, oh, he's tried his best, it's not his fault, or just hope that everybody else moves on soon. And I hate to say this because I love you in a Christian way. It's your fault that there will be no consequences. It's your fault that there will be no punishment. It's your fault that there will be no repercussions for this. You have created an environment in which politicians are allowed to claim that it's raining when we're in the middle of a heat wave. You have created an environment in which politicians are allowed to negotiate a protocol, celebrate it, receive a seat in the House of Lords as a reward for negotiating it, and then claim 6 months later that we need to renege on it, that it's absolutely awful and we've got to get rid of it quick. You have created that environment, and I don't know how we get out of it. And I don't even think that I can ask you that question today because I don't think you've got any answers either. Although the phone number, should you choose to have a crack, is 0345 6060973. So there is a person kneeling. Who are you going to ask about why they are kneeling? Are you going to ask the person on his knee, or are you going to ask somebody with a column in the Daily Mail? Okay, maybe that hasn't quite worked yet. So you are on one knee. You personally. And if you don't like the idea of being on one knee, arthritis perhaps would be a preventative. You might be saluting or you might be doing star jumps. Admittedly, that would be even harder with arthritis than getting down on one knee. But still the point stands. Don't forget about the footballers. Forget about anybody else. You are on one knee for a reason. Who would you like to reveal what that reason is? Or even who would you like to stand up in the public space and state without the possibility of contradiction why you are on one knee? Would you like that person to be you? Or would you like that person to be a columnist in the Spectator magazine? Or a presenter on GBBs? Who would you like to speak for you in answer to the question of why you are on one knee? Would you like me to do it? Would you like me to stand up in public and state, I know why he's on his knee, I know why she's on her knee, it's because ... Or do you think that the answer to that question should be provided by you? That's a rhetorical question. But in the current climate, apparently, it needs pointing out that it would be pant-wettingly stupid, not to mention deeply and profoundly dishonest, deceptive and disingenuous, to pretend that anybody else is better qualified than you are to tell the rest of us why you are on your knee. But here we are. Priti Patel, the Home Secretary, one of the highest offices in the land, albeit that it's occupied by a proven liar and bully. It remains one of the highest offices in the land. She felt that she was better qualified to tell you why men like Marcus Rashford and Tyrone Mings and Harry Kane and Harry Maguire were on one knee than they were themselves. Priti Patel, the Home Secretary, albeit a proven bully and liar, thought that she had more right to tell you why those men were on their knee than they did. Because they told us why they were taking a knee. They told us again and again and again. And just in case there was any doubt left, Gareth Southgate stepped up and explained with remarkable clarity and articulacy precisely why his players, his squad, his team, his charges were taking a knee before football games. There is no confusion. We have segued smoothly in this country into a place where we actually now have debates about things that are not debatable. I could open up these phone lines now and fill the switchboard with people queuing up to tell me why the footballers are taking a knee and why they know better than the actual footballers. Could fill it up. But just pause for a moment and reflect upon how surreal that is. And if you still don't get it, imagine it was you. Imagine you were on one knee and everybody came to ask me why you were doing it. And the explanation I offered, the answer I provided, bore no resemblance whatsoever to the truth, to your truth about your knee in your life. Priti Patel, without really realising how despicable her conduct was, took it upon herself in pursuit of a very predictable constituency of voters to tell you why other people whom she'd never met but who had explained why they were taking a knee before football games were really taking a knee before football games. And she had the audacity, she had the crass obnoxiousness to describe it as gesture politics. I know why they hate it. They hate it because it works. They hate it because it gets noticed. All of the people who pretend to believe that they've only got a problem with protests when they're violent suddenly had a fit of the vapours, threw their dummies out of prams and clutched their pearls so tightly the necklaces broke because these men had found a way, post Dr. King, post Colin Kaepernick, these men had found a way to protest with epic peacefulness about racism. And it worked. It cut through. And do you know the most important thing about this? And this perhaps is an insight into all of the people claiming that they actually really support Kick It Out. Kick It Out is an anti-racism organisation foursquare behind the taking of a knee. They never mentioned that bit. They said, why can't we just concentrate on Kick It Out? Why do we have to take a knee? The reason why they've got such a problem with this is that you can't ignore it. If I had a radio programme and I was possessed of views that were very, very, very far to the right with regard to racial equality, with regard to basic decency, with regard to, for example, Christian values, then I would no doubt be urging other schemes that haven't succeeded over the years on anything like the scale that the taking of a knee has succeeded to supersede the taking of a knee. Oh, I think we should all stop taking the knee now. I think we've all had enough. Yeah, right. You stop taking the knee when people like Marcus Rashford and Tyrone Mings and Jadon Sancho don't get treated differently from their white counterparts. That's when you stop doing it. Except look what I just did. You don't stop doing it when I say. You don't stop doing it when I think the time is right. Because I'm not doing it. How arrogant would I have to be to think that my opinion on when they should and shouldn't take the knee mattered one jot? These football players, these men, they can stop taking the knee when they want to. That's the point, isn't it? You want to know what white privilege is? White privilege is me sitting here that my opinion on when they should and shouldn't take the knee matters one jot. It's up to them. It's up to them and their colleagues of every colour. Incredible, isn't it? Even someone who spends about 3 hours a day patting himself on the back for being such a clear-eyed supporter of equality just fell into that trap. How dare I have a view on when they should and shouldn't stop taking the knee? They stop taking the knee when they want to, when they feel the moment is right. And guess what? If you were on one knee, or you were doing star jumps, or you were doing salutes, it isn't for me to decide when you stop doing it, any more than it's for me to decide why you're doing it. It's you.